Yeah, looking for loopholes in the Bible is usually a bad idea.
Delta, 1400 security.
You are listening to Ground Radio.
All right, man. Well, I just got to tell you, Godspeed on editing this one. Might be a little bit added challenge.
We went about, 4 or 5 podcasts that you edited. You really took up the helm on that because you were just better at it than I have been. And I felt like, it's time for me to maybe, pull a little on my own. And I decided that I would choose this one. It was really bad planning on my behalf. I think that we totally missed an opportunity last week too, because we released the superstition one on number 6. After I released it, I was like, man, that would have been perfect for a 13.
Or a 7, if you want to be lucky about it.
I thought about that too. It was like 7 would be just fine. But no, we're gonna do profanity, vulgarity. I made it a point to make it easier on you to not swear during the podcast.
I don't outwardly use profanity in normal life for the most part, unless I'm really struggling through something. I really try to curb that. So that's the I feel like when we do our recordings, it's going to end up in a public place. So I kind of put it in the same category. We're not tackling this from a standpoint of trying to offend anyone. We're just hoping to have interesting thoughts about the history and the psychology behind profanity and blasphemy and cursing and just, how the mind works and how language works.
I'm terrible at inserting the censor beep. I don't know how you do it so well. I think I have the timing all screwed up. Mine sounds ear-piercing for some reason, where yours was pretty good. I apologize if we do have to use it this episode. If I shatter anyone's eardrums, I will try not to do that. But
my first YouTube video might have to be a tutorial on bleeping out curse words in audio recordings.
Repairing potty mouths. I also have a new chair, so that might squeak the whole time too. So I have a mountain ahead of us, but let's get into the bulk of our topic today. Let's talk about naughty words, dirty words, vulgarity, profanity.
Expletives.
Words you don't say in front of your grandma.
Yes.
That's kind of how I would group all
of
that.
Or, in a job interview, probably another place to avoid.
Yeah.
First date, avoid them on a first date.
Did you ever have an issue with your significant other not liking your swearing?
Man, what a sore subject. Yeah, I'm Facebook friends with her too. I met this girl at church of all places.
I'm sorry. Does she follow the podcast?
No, she does not.
Yeah, screw her.
No, she does not.
I don't care then.
No, I'm still gonna talk about her.
Okay, good.
I met her at church. Of all places, I'm, a Catholic boy. We used to attend church every Sunday morning. And I, used to catch eyes with her. We're sitting there for 45 minutes. So once one of us got a car, it was like, hey, let's hang out. I don't know what it was. Part of my personality at the time. Maybe I was a little insecure. I mean, we'll get into that later, the reasons why people curse. But I threw out a few too many, and she finally called me on it. And she said, wow, you really curse a lot. And I thought, how foolish of me to meet this girl from church and think that that's the personality I needed to put forth. So I lost that. Embarrassing. I mean, it's one of those cringeworthy moments that I think back on. I think, boy, did I play it the wrong way.
Yeah, I don't think that with our history in the military, swearing was fairly ingrained, but we weren't too terrible. In our career field, that it wasn't every other word. Some people it was like that, but I've had jobs where it is, I don't want to say like locker room talk. It's like shop talk where,
the construction sites and stuff. Sure,
you're talking about they're using the F-bomb as a comma.
I found that I started to try to avoid it because I started to feel self-conscious about it. I didn't really respect the social agreement that we all have, that these words are to be maybe reserved for, emergencies but definitely not to just be used like commas, like you said. So I started to move away from that when I realized that I'm going to respect this social agreement that we have instead of just flaunt it and see what I can get away with. That wasn't a good move.
It was like the tip of the language pyramid where it said use sparingly. Terrible callback to the old food pyramid. I think we learned that.
Yeah, the fatty and the sugary things at the tip.
Yeah. It's used to season the language, but not to be used as a full meal.
Yeah.
But you have different forms of swearing. And I think you mentioned them earlier to me, and I was very surprised. I thought they were all synonyms of curse words, but you're saying that there's different categories.
What I have here is swear words consist of words that are deistic, even if they're not about God or Jesus, which is our most common ones. But when Ron Burgundy says, by the beard of Zeus, that's considered like a deistic swear. You're invoking a higher power into your language to drive your point home. And then a curse is more like when you want to hex something, when you want to damn something to hell, or say anything involving the devil, or to send something to hell. That's a curse.
It's like dark arts type deal.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So those are the two major categories that I had. But then, of course, there's the category of bodily functions and excrement. Those fall into like the obscene category, I guess. It's something that's considered private and we're exposing it.
That's like perfect for just saying those are potty words.
Yeah.
I feel like that's exactly what that means.
Right. But yeah, I think that makes up the bulk of what's offensive.
Let's talk about the deistic ones. You said the swear words, because those are the ones that I'm most familiar with, and recently have been thinking about how they're just maybe getting more offensive the way people are using them, mainly because whenever somebody uses a word, someone uses a blasphemous phrase, if they are not of that religion, it seems way worse to me.
Because they're just poking the bear.
It's like they are purposely breaking laws that they don't fall under.
Yeah.
But they're trying to offend somebody who would be. And that's where I'm getting kind of...
So you mean non-Christians talking about Jesus? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. I mean, even if you're an atheist and, you drop the, I'm just going to do gosh darn it on somebody. Yeah. We'll get to that in a little bit. But when you drop that seems like you're breaking someone else's rules, like right in front of them.
Yeah.
It's taunting, is what it seems.
Yes, it means nothing to you. So the weight behind it is even more malicious, right?
Yeah, and I don't think that it's too wrong to say that this is in the same category in my mind as a slur, a racial slur, against a race that's not your own. Because you're using a word that doesn't hurt you, but is meant to cause
I see.
Anguish to another person.
But I don't think that these words are getting more offensive as time has gone on. I think that the religious ones are becoming less and less impactful as we carry on. Like on TV, you can use all the blasphemous ones, I feel like, without any issue.
I believe they're more acceptable as less people are believing.
Church-going folk?
Yes. As those numbers drop and it's more socially acceptable, the people who are still church-going folk really don't like hearing those words. But since they are slowly becoming the minority, or I don't have the numbers behind this, but that seems to be where the trend is.
I think you're dead on. Yeah.
Yeah. Then it's okay because the majority doesn't have a problem with it.
Yeah, but it's not okay. And is that's what you're saying? It's being used against them in a persecution sort of way.
It's in a mocking type way, I think.
Yeah.
Because the only reason why I'm saying it's in a mocking type way is there's no reason to invoke another person's religion in your obscenity.
Right.
If you don't believe it, then the connotation isn't even there. If you're saying gosh darn it, you don't believe in that gosh to darn the thing, then you're
Or the
just
darn.
Yeah, you're just doing it just to rile someone else's feathers.
Uh-huh. But from a lot of the reading I've done, profanity, cursing, swearing, whatever you want to call it, falls into a category that isn't quite language and it isn't quite a scream. It's somewhere in the middle, because we were talking about the 44 English sounds in the last one.
Yeah.
Those syllables are called phonemes. Each thing that your brain receives and translates into actual words that we can understand.
Yes.
We use phonemes. And a curse doesn't quite register as a phoneme. It registers in more of the emotional and motor place where there's an adrenaline rush and there's glands and things that kick into gear that normal language couldn't achieve. It's almost like if you heard someone screaming downstairs, it would create the same reaction as a swear word.
So you're saying that it's more closely related to a grunt than it is to maybe a word?
I mean, that's the direction that I think the research is pointing by the things that I read.
If I recall, I believe I know what you're talking about, what you read. It was, you can't use them as adjectives, even though you try. You can't reverse engineer the sentence and it makes sense. The grandmother F-bomb here is the main one we're talking about.
If you say, feed the noisy cat, and you say, feed the effing cat, the question is, what kind of cat is it? And you can say noisy, but you can't say effing. That won't answer the question.
Yes.
So that was adjective. It doesn't fall into the category of imperative either. You could say wash the floor, you could say sweep the floor, and you can say F you, but you can't say wash the floor and F you. Like, it wouldn't make sense in the sentence. And the other one was, it's not an adverb either. If you say, how was the concert? And they say, it was effing horrible. You can't say, how horrible was the concert? Effing. It doesn't answer the question.
We're doing good so far. I'm thoroughly impressed. I don't think there's going to be a single bleep so far.
No. Okay. I did the notes in such a way that it wouldn't even mess with me.
And I like how we are using child swearing is what I feel like this would be, where you're using darnets and gollies.
The minced oaths.
Minced oaths.
Talking like Flanders.
So not minced oats, minced oaths.
Yes.
Okay. What are these?
Well, this is when people, I think they start to try to cheat the system and say, I want to get the same point across without using that heavy language. And so, like we did before with gosh darn it, we were supposedly getting away with getting that point across without saying the words that have the impact. But that's not necessarily true either. I mean, the teachings would say that, the intent is what matters, not the actual sounds that your mouth makes. Sufferin' succotash is related to Jesus suffering on the cross. Suffering Savior is the actual thing that people used to say, that used to be considered something that would physically harm the body of Jesus at the right hand of God. It was believed that if you use this kind of language about Jesus or God, God's wounds, which turn into zounds.
Wow, this is really changing the way I watched Looney Tunes as a kid.
I know. So he's saying suffering Savior, and we're just thinking he's a silly cat, but
that blasphemous cat.
Yeah, he's literally, well, it was believed back in the Middle Ages that was literally causing harm to the body of Jesus. So, and there's more. Blimey is something that I don't know if the English people in the UK, I don't know if they say that anymore, blimey, but I've seen it in a few Disney movies.
I feel like that's something that we would use to stereotype somebody from England.
Yeah, to stereotype a British accent, but it actually comes from God blind me. It was like something that you would exclaim, but it's still considered blasphemous. Just invoking the name of God in any of our trivial little life pursuits is Straight up blasphemy.
That's a strange request, though.
Yeah, I know. Well, if you walk in on your grandma and your grandpa.
Yep. Now I understand. Blimey hard. Blimey right now.
And holy mackerel, that sounds innocent enough, but it really comes from Holy Mother of God, like just invoking Mary into the whole situation.
I thought it was the fish. Okay, and now I can say holy, I can understand that, but I thought mackerel was the fish.
It is a fish, but it's a minced oath of Holy Mother of God.
Oh, well, that took a turn. All right, so
So did Succotash from Savior.
True. That is true. I'm going to put these in the show notes because some of these are good. I have to talk about one though. I don't understand where the range of blasphemy goes. Like, is it anybody that could possibly be? I don't even see a higher power because this feels like middle management. For Pete's sake is for St. Peter's sake.
Right. I don't know if Peter qualifies as being able to be blasphemed. I mean, he's not God.
He's like the bouncer, right? If I remember correctly.
He is at the gates. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is what I don't understand about blasphemy. I can say to my daughter, who's probably running around with some form of weaponized utensil in her hand, and I could just say, for Pete's sake, please put that down.
Yes.
And I'm just saying, hey, if Judgment Day comes and St. Peter's looking at his book, be like, remember that time when you beat the crap out of everybody with a spatula? Like, no, for his sake, to make his job easier, why don't you just put it down? I don't know how that's blasphemy. It seems like that has to be like the lowest level because it's not even like mean to him.
Right, you're doing him a favor.
And still, he qualifies?
No, I would say that minced oath actually 100% makes you innocent from any sort of blasphemy.
Yeah. But this web page is unbelievable. You have is that Duke Dastardly and Muttley? There's Flanders. Oh my God, there's Robin of Batman and Robin fame.
Yes,
Burt Ward, namely, of his minced oaths.
So it's become like a thing now where, like, in conversation, you'll just say it, holy bright lights, Batman. And it just because it became part of our culture almost. I found a website looking at minced oaths and Googling minced oaths that was an index of all the expressions that Robin used in that series, in the entire series. And they're tough. They're tough to
read,
appreciate.
I could imagine.
It's just like embarrassing. They put effort into it, and it's like, why?
You have a wide range of nonsensical words.
Yeah,
but I'm looking back at those, and I don't think a lot of those are that bad. I don't think a lot of the words that we are replacing, they don't seem that bad. But apparently, the concept of profanity is that it does change with the times. I believe I can see that now with television from when we were kids to now.
Mm-hmm.
There are things that I don't think I'd ever see on TV before, at least not until like 11 o'clock at night. And now it's commonplace.
Yeah, they don't edit movies as much either. When we were kids, you used to watch, Terminator or something, and it was chopped to bits, and you'd have like so many dubbed in little, just like for no reason. In fact, I remember watching Honey, I Shrunk the Kids on TV. And when they first get shrunk in the attic, and
you're making me really reach back here on this one.
One of the neighbor kids runs over and says, "We're all the size of boogers," and they changed that on TV because it was too much boogers.
That was the line, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was like crumbs or something safe. And I thought like, wow, and we definitely don't live in that kind of world now. You can see in primetime, not for children's programming, obviously, but they will just put it on because it's becoming more accepted. In fact, when we were kids, we would get in trouble for saying sucks. And our parents, at least my parents, would always remind me what sucks what's getting sucked. And we didn't use it in that context. Like we were just saying you're inept at this activity. We were just using it that way. And I think now, I mean, my kids don't say it because they're pretty young still, but I think it's pretty commonplace to hear sucks now, and nobody's batting an eye.
I think you as a parent are kind of responsible for trying to rein that in. You don't want that. You don't want them to get close. I know it's really hard for me coming home from work, cursing like a sailor. And then all of a sudden I have an 18-month-old who will absorb all the words that you say.
Yeah, she's right there in the sweet spot of language learning.
I've done pretty good, but I have researched that a toddler will learn their first 4-letter word far before they'll learn the alphabet.
Uh-huh.
And I can completely see that.
That makes total sense. It really does.
I don't feel like that's even fair, because the way that it works, a child saying the ABCs, you'll clap and applaud. But a child swearing, picking up a word that they learned from dad in the basement, like people, what is that? Everyone will pay attention to them, and they know. This is the same one that will stand up on a desk and like do a hula dance because she knows I'm going to come running after her because she shouldn't be up there. So they will just gravitate toward getting that negative attention.
I was going to say the alphabet isn't even the first song they learn, but
oh no.
But yeah, you make a good point there. It's not going to get the same reaction, and a lot of parents laugh, and it's tough. There's YouTube videos galore of parents showing their kids cursing and laughing their heads off about it. I'm sure that's that used to mean a lot to me as a kid, is making my family laugh. I wanted to be entertaining.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's all that they want to be, little performers, and they realize that they can just make one little sound and all of a sudden they can get the whole room to move.
Right. No, and you know why else it makes sense is because, like, let's say you got some landscaping job and you started working with, a bunch of people who speak Spanish. You would learn that language a little bit by immersion, and the first things you usually learn in a language when you don't learn it in a classroom is going to be the cursing and the colloquialisms.
Yes. I try to make it a point not to swear.
Even at work? Not at work. Depends on which dude you're hanging out with.
I really try not to, and I don't look down at people who swear. I think that I can be more creative and I can find the better word.
Yeah.
But when the opportunity presents itself to be funny, you got to do it every once in a while. But I think the key to it is not doing it often.
It loses its force, punch.
The estimated usage of curse words among adults is 0.7% of your vocabulary.
Okay, that doesn't seem like much.
It doesn't until you compare that to pronouns, I, you, he, she. That's also 0.7%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we use a lot of like fluff words apparently in our conversations. That is the average. The high end is 3% of your words. So that's like 4 times as much.
Yeah. Okay, wow.
I thought those were realistic numbers to realize that curse words are making up a large chunk of your vocabulary. You're probably not getting your point across with the emphasis you think you are.
Well, the 3%ers are not using and nearly as much as the rest of us. That's the difference.
That's true.
The 3%ers. I love it. We've labeled them. Just a little more on the minced oaths here. I found some bizarre court cases. There was a lawyer in 1941 in Philadelphia who got contempt of court for a darn it. And
wow. Yeah,
that's pretty excessive. I don't know much about the judge. Like,
what are you in for?
Yeah. And then in 2014, actually, which is much more recent, and in Utah, there was a restaurant, or is a restaurant, I don't know if you've heard of it, called Wingers. It might be a chain. And their signature sauce that they offered was called Freaking Amazing Sauce. This one restaurant in Utah actually had enough petitions and enough complaints that they went ahead and changed they had to turn the whole menu up. They had to make new menus and their signs on the windows and everything they modeled their whole thing around this Freaking Amazing sauce, and they changed the name to Original Amazing Sauce.
So the word freaking is
A minced oath, yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay. I don't know. I guess they don't register, maybe because I'm just so used to them.
Yeah. I got in trouble for freaking when I like my cousins would come over and I'd be seeing what I could try to sound cooler, and my dad would be like, "Hey, none of that." And I'd be like, "Oh, geez, I thought I was within the boundaries
Jeez.
of."
Whoa, easy. You said "geez." I have to bleep that
I
out.
still say "geez." I need to stop saying "geez."
When I hear "geez," I'm thinking, "Oh, what a quaint old woman thing,"
Yes.
and I didn't realize no, she's just trying not to yell blasphemous phrases out the top.
And
of
yet
her
it's
lungs.
still 100% of the sin.
Yes. Way to go. For Peter's sake, stop
Poor
swearing.
Peter.
It'll never go away. It won't. There are so many benefits to swearing. If you do it, I guess the phrase would be correctly.
Yeah, I found 5 ways to use swearing, and I used hell for this example so that it would be something I can actually say and not use the letter. So we could be descriptive, where you would use it in your humor, or you can just say literally, hell is a place of evil, descriptive. Idiomatically, we have quite a few hell idioms. I came up with come hell or high water and when hell freezes over. I was wondering if you would know any more.
Hot as hell.
Hot as hell, yeah, there you go.
That's a simile.
That's true. But it's an expression
But,
nonetheless. So then you could use it abusively, go to hell, and you could use it emphatically, like hell yes or hell no.
Hell no.
And you can use it cathartically, like what the hell. And it's supposed to proven to alleviate some of the struggle that you're having, whether it be pain or like mental anguish, just like a scream would cathartically help you through it. The cursing is supposed to give the same benefit.
I read about the pain relief, and apparently the way that they handled this was through ice water, putting your hand in ice water. Now, I remember that there was a Mythbusters about this. We're not referring to that one. There was actually one done at a university in England. But there is I
didn't see the Mythbusters. I only read about the study. And they said that the people would have the choice to say the S word or shoot. And they could use it as much as they wanted, loud as they wanted. And if they could hold their hand in longer, then it was proven that obviously one word had an impact on their ability to withstand the pain.
Now, I can totally understand this because there is something taboo, something that your brain feels mischievous about, just shouting a swear word, just yelling it at the top of your lungs. And it can almost put your body like on edge to do something so inappropriate. To where I could see that there is like adrenaline being pumped through you for doing that. And I guess that gave them the ability to keep their hands in ice water for longer. The other thing that I've noticed that people use swearing for is bonding.
I saw that too.
I wanted to talk to you about that because I think a lot of that has to do with our role in the military and how it was so common, or in the workplace.
Yeah.
And the more I thought about it, the more I realized the people I'm most comfortable around are going to be the people that I have no problem swearing around. Right. That's not a catch-all, but as far as peers go, that would be the case.
Well, yeah, at work it's like us versus them. Like you're not the higher ups, and the higher ups are like, the enemy. Oh, they're coming down us and on us with all these rules and safety regulations and whatever else you hate about them. So you guys have your own camaraderie and you can be comfortable with each other. And so cursing. So which comes first? The cursing or the comfort?
I would imagine that the cursing is kind of a prod in the comfort. Or whenever I can feel like I can let loose and I can ignore social norms with someone and they can kind of relax with me and just kind of have a peer talk. That is why I think that it is kind of needed for bonding. I don't know if needed is the right word, but it is used as it. It is very easy. If I can just say a 4-letter word
Right.
and all of a sudden I realize I'm comfortable with another person, that's
That's
handy
what it
tactic.
is. It's like a lubrication for the relationship, especially since you're all kind of forced together in the first place. It's not like you have any reason to be with these people except that you both got hired by the same company. So
Yeah.
a quick shortcut, let's say, to bonding is to use these taboo words amongst each other and still remain comfortable and help you grow stronger faster.
It's a gamble because I could see that there being problems trying to do this and maybe somebody won't be as receptive to
Yeah.
it. I'm pretty sure if you use some minced oaths there, that might send some people running away from you because you're the guy who says, gosh, Garly, gosh,
Flanders
darling,
was never popular.
whatever.
Not once.
Stupid, sexy Flanders.
Oh, okay, my bad. You're right. I forgot about
Yes.
60 Flanders episode.
Nothing at all.
But also people will use cursing to camouflage fears, and I almost wonder, and insecurities, I should say. And I almost wonder if those people we were referring to earlier, that the 3%ers, if that's what a lot of that is insecurity when they're trying to come across maybe tougher, maybe a little bit more confident than they are.
I could see that they're trying to prove that they're a little more relaxed with the situation than they may be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and swearing can be used in humor as well. Sometimes it makes a joke just kind of hit home a little better.
Yeah,
I know when my mom swears accidentally, and I hear it, it makes me laugh really hard, and she gets really embarrassed.
Oh, well, sure.
I found one on this website, and they said that swearing enables us to get back at people in non-violent ways.
Right.
Instead of throwing a punch, you can swear at someone.
Okay.
They will equate it to like an animal growling.
Mm-hmm. Like a severe warning of tension.
Yes. I'm going to disagree with that.
No. Okay.
Well, okay. Maybe you can use it like that. I just find it to be a very bad idea. I could see swearing escalating situations just out of its own nature.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to elicit an emotional response by using words, that seems like maybe the wrong use of it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It is another gamble because just like love means something different to everybody else, so probably does. And so just bringing it up in mixed company could make a big problem.
That's true.
Yeah, because they could take it a totally different way than you meant it. Swearing can also be considered something that takes the place of crying. When you're upset or afraid or frustrated, your instinctive reaction is to cry as a child. And as we suppress that, cursing kind of rose out of that as like a coping mechanism.
Okay. I believe that there is a psychological response to the swearing because it being so taboo. I believe it's like more of a thrashing out situation.
Okay. Desperation.
Someone who's unable to handle their emotions may result to it because it might work. It might feel good to get that release.
Yeah.
There probably is some form of oxytocin release, some dopamine release. So I can see that. Just like with the violence thing. Yeah, you can use it that way. It's not the best thing to do, but it would work
if we all interpret it that way, but that's impossible.
Yeah, well, I mean, but you're saying you're essentially saying that they're not allowing their emotions to flush out in the natural way, so they found a workaround.
No, I mean, maybe it's just as good. It replaces it 100%. Maybe, I mean, would you feel better if you cried? If you're trying to get your Wi-Fi back, and you try 3 times and it's driving you crazy, and it's been an hour, and you start cursing up a storm, would it be better to sit and cry, or I mean, what's more socially acceptable?
You even said that in kind of a mocking way. You don't cry about it? You cry about your Wi-Fi?
See?
You don't cry about your Wi-Fi?
Right. So we're conditioned. We're totally
Bully.
conditioned.
Bully. We mentioned earlier that there is a shift coming, or it's happening, or it's always happening maybe, of what we see on TV and blasphemy and just the more acceptable words, but they're going to get replaced.
What I noticed was that the blasphemous ones were the highest, most dangerous ones to use, the most shock inducing. And then what I read was that back in the Middle Ages, people used to sleep in the same bed and use the same outhouse and, you know, whatever kind of bathroom situations they had. It became common for people to throw, even with children, the more obscene words around in mixed company because, you know, they didn't have the modesty yet. Once we developed as a society our modesty, that's when those words about defecation and bedroom activities became more impactful and more offensive. And I don't want to say more than the blasphemous ones yet. I mean, those are still sticking around, but now I think we're even moving away from the obscene ones being so shocking anymore. I'm not going to say that you could certainly get in trouble, and there's definitely still little towns with laws about profanity in public where you could get fined, or I still think that, like, at ball games, when kids are present, I hear at restaurants, I hear people cursing up a storm at the table around me, and they're not giving any care in the world to the fact that I got two kids sitting in the booth with me. It's not something that's considered as taboo of a behavior as it used to be. But I think that, yes, there's a shift to these racial words, these slurs, and these words that exclude people or stereotype people. These are the things that are becoming the record scratch will happen if you say it in mixed company.
Their intent is to offend. Those aren't too shocking that they are kind of on top of things you don't say in any company, or you shouldn't say in any type of company. But I've noticed that more and more we're getting more, and I don't mean this word to come across as negative, we're becoming more sensitive to potential mental illnesses, and that might have a shift into what we can and can't say in company.
Right.
I know that certain mental disabilities, calling somebody a derogatory word from that is high up there anymore of you just can't do that in public.
Yeah.
And you really shouldn't. But one word I remembered from a kid, and it wasn't used often. I guess maybe it was kind of a 90s thing. It kind of went away with the rad and all that type of
Tubular.
stuff. Was calling someone like a schizo.
Sure. Yeah,
Obviously,
you're totally schizo, man.
Yeah, like, and back then it was just, you're kind of like freaking out, like, hey, just relax. But that died, and maybe it died because it just wasn't a stick to it type phrase. But
yeah,
now I'm thinking that it really wouldn't go really well with today's society as it is anyway, because that's obviously, I guess, poking fun at a real mental illness, schizophrenia.
It's making light. Yeah, it's making light of something that's heavy.
So I believe that if we're going to start seeing a shift, it's going to be toward the descriptions of actual problems and the slurs that would come from those.
That's one thing that, people are not getting away with, pushing too many boundaries. We're definitely moving in a direction of trying to be all-inclusive, and it is very taboo now to exclude somebody or assume that, you can get away with. I mean, is it dehumanizing by picking a name for an entire group of people? We used to throw around what is now referred to as the R word when I was a kid, no problem. And I never thought there ever would be an R word, but, it's like the most offensive thing to a lot of parents and schools out there now. You can't say it.
I think as awareness kind of grew about the disorder, and
yeah,
whenever we started realizing that there is an emotional stake to it.
Yeah.
Also, it doesn't help the fact that generally that person is being a bully for no reason whatsoever. It's kind of hard to root for that person. Whenever we can all kind of band together and be like, no, don't do that. And that's kind of the benefit of having a society that can kind of band together and be like, okay, you don't have to follow our rules, but we're all kind of in this together.
And that's supposed to be the American ideals too, is for the majority to protect the minority, not persecute.
Not gang up on them. Yeah.
My mom, I would say, grew up in a totally different sort of American environment than we did. She grew up in New York City when the generation previous to her parents' generation, a lot of the people of that age living in the Bronx when she was young were of many different ethnic backgrounds, but still, you talk about that camaraderie that you get at work with your buddies because you can all, the cultural differences were definitely used that way back in the day. It was camaraderie to be able to say, hey, you're my friend, you can call me that, or you can stereotype me, and that means that we like each other. That means that we're being clever together. We're just trying to riff on each other or whatever. And what else do you have? What are you going to say? Oh, you're obsessive compulsive. Like, I mean, it's more fun to use like these cultural differences that we have. And I mean, like, what are Italians known for? Stereotypically to be angry and hairy. what would somebody think when they think of an Italian? Bad, like a bad stereotype.
Mobster, talk with your hands very loud.
Obnoxious. Sure.
yeah. Extremely self-centered. Like they would have a podcast where they talk about Italians. Not that I've thought of any of those.
so I just
pretty good for a dumb Pollock, huh?
that I think that's part of the shift. No, I didn't find any. No, Polish was the cholera. Okay, so
yes,
the Polish people will just insult you by saying you have cholera.
yeah, take that.
Which I guess would fit into the hex category.
Yeah,
but yeah, it took me a while growing up in my lily white world to realize that I had to stop rapping along with Dr. Dre and including all the words. That was a lesson that I learned without any broken facial bones, which I'm glad. I used to be like, listen, man, I bought this CD. I can say all the words on it.
No, you can't. That's you really shouldn't.
Yeah.
And the thing is, there's always going to be part of society. There's always going to be someone in society who's going to try to be edgy one way or another. There's going to be a comedian who's going to push the bounds. There's going to be one of your friends who's going to try to find the line and just cross it. And eventually, if enough people keep crossing that line, we're just going to move that line. Or it's going to get to a different place. And then somebody else is going to find it. Mm-hmm. So there's no way to live in a world without this type of profanity, because the more you try to lock it down, it's like the little toddler. The more it feels taboo and feels good to do. So I'm happy that we have something that we can be used, but I would suggest to everybody, use it sparingly and it will have a better impact.
Mm-hmm. To use it properly should be to spread it out and save it for opportune moments, whether that be for emergency anguish or whether that be for a better punchline. But whatever it may be, it can't hurt to cut back a little bit. Don't be a 3%er, right?
Yeah. That's fun press. All right, Paul. Well, we recorded this one just not too long after the last one. I'm going to try to put it up. Maybe it'll spread it out a bit, but we're both going on vacation, not together, but oddly enough at the same time. So that kind of worked out well.
Yes. Well, it's summer.
Yes.
You got to get out of the house.
Yes.
You're going to get some nice, cool Ohio air.
Yeah. It's not a vacation if you have to do it. We've been calling it an obligation. So
I like that.
Yeah. Coined. But you got to visit family, and I'm looking forward to getting out of the house and seeing some sights out there.
Okay.
that I have not seen before. So we're going to have some good time with it. And my daughter loves seeing new people, so we're looking forward to that.
I wish you luck in this edit, and I apologize for fucking dropping the F-bomb so much.
I know.
But
Gosh,
I thought
darn it.
we couldn't do it without just a little bit of a challenge in there, right?
You got it. I will take this on, and I'll do a turnaround in like 3 weeks. We'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, you know what? If we're gonna space it out, that's probably ideal, because I'm sorry to tell you now, folks. It's gonna be early September before there's another one.
All right. Well, until then,
We'll talk soon.